What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for the weekly non-sports cards slash comic book slash pop culture slash Magic the Gathering market update. Don't really know the format of this thing yet, but we're powering on through. Mostly Marvel, a little bit of comic books, maybe a little bit of Magic mixed in, is essentially what this is going to be, with the occasional pop culture thing thrown in. A little bit of news at the top, and then we'll check in on some prices on a couple different things. And that'll basically be the format for the week. A lot of positive feedback on the first one of these we did last week. Please continue to smash the like button. And I would actually ask a little additional favor. If you do enjoy this content, share the video somewhere in your social media circle, in a Facebook group that you're in, with your friends, whatever it is. Give it a little copy paste on the old linky link. So, new stuff. The big thing that happened last week in the old Marvel cards slash, alternative world was SpiderMan Metal coming to e-Pack. e-Pack, if you're not familiar with it, is Upper Deck's digital marketplace where you could purchase packs. Some of the cards are digital, some are physical. You can have them sent to ComC, and then are transferred to ComC, and then have them either sent home or listed for sale on eBay if you so choose. That has caused a flood of inventory like everyone thought was going to happen. And then the other big thing that happened was the pricing on this came out to be almost $500 a box, which was more expensive than what a lot of people were thinking. Typically, it is around MSRP pricing, a little bit higher than that. That's what we saw with X-Men Metal. Upper Deck's comments around this release were it was going to be in line with X-Men Metal. What does in line mean? Technically, if you math it out, it ended up kind of being in line, but a lot of people were blindsided by the $480 price, and a lot of the Facebook groups, etc., were not happy about it. I've opened 3 or 4 packs so far, individual packs. I've gotten smoked on every single one of them. Have not even hit an insert, all base cards. So I thought off the top here it would be a little fun. I bought one more pack to rip on this video. So let's go ahead and rip one quick little pack of SpiderMan Metal and give you guys and girls kind of an idea of what this looks like. So we're going to open this bad boy up. So we got our base card. And these base cards are digital. You cannot have these sent home. This is our high series. This is a physical card you can have sent home. And it looks like we got smoked again. Yep. All base cards. So these 4 that have the metal logo real big on the bottom are the digital cards. You cannot have those shipped home. Those, if you get 10, you can combine them together and unlock a blue achievement, which is a physical card, which you can have sent home. These 2 high series cards right here, you also could have sent home. Those are physical cards. You can tell the difference in the imaging. But we got absolutely destroyed on this pack. And this is what all my packs have looked like. I think this is the 4th one that I have opened. So just keep that in mind. If you're on social, you see a lot of people showing off all these green PMGs that they hit and $5,000 cards and $3,000 cards and this, that, and the other thing. When in reality, this is what most of them are going to look like, is right here. So lesson learned there. That was $40 that we just lit on fire. So there you go. You get to see firsthand exactly what this looks like. How long it'll last on e-Pack, nobody knows. It will be a popular product. Even with the pessimism, people are starting to unlock some of the bigger achievements, the full comic covers. I saw the AF-15 comic cover was unlocked on Sunday at time of recording. And once this dries up, I have a feeling the physical box prices may spike. We'll talk about physical box prices here in a few minutes. But as of right now, they're sitting at about $600, give or take. And single prices will continue to come down as all this inventory is flooding the market, especially on the non-numbered stuff. And even the numbered stuff is starting to see little hits. Spider-Man Red PMGs were going for about 3K plus. They're down to about 2,700, give or take, just because of the amount of them hitting the market all at one time. There's just not enough buyers to sustain it. This is what a lot of people were saying, myself included, where if you were looking for certain singles, just wait. There'll be a flood coming, and that's what happened. everyone rips this stuff and everyone immediately puts it on the secondary market to recoup some costs. And it's a race to the bottom, even on some numbered stuff. That stuff will pull back a little bit. Some interesting items came up for auction at some of the bigger auction houses, which will be intriguing to keep an eye on. I'm very interested in this one. A full set of 90 Marvel Universe PSA 10, plus a set of PSA 9 holograms. This, as of right now, is at $11,000. It ends in a few days on September 22nd, I believe, so we'll have an update to this next week, but very interested to kind of see where this ends up at. This is the first one that I know of to come to market, a full PSA 10 set. There can really, as of right now, there can only be a handful of these because some of the lower pop cards are still in the teens, low teens in some cases, I believe. So it's not like there could be that many PSA 10 sets out there. And some of the cards that are low pop for a reason. I don't know if it was the way that the cards were cut. Like High Evolutionary is one in particular that is a very tough PSA 10. I know I've opened 3 boxes of this, plus had singles from when I was a kid. Not a single one of them was centered. They were all a mess. So could be very interesting to see exactly how many PSA 10 sets end up shaking out of all this. But this will be intriguing to see what this goes for, as it will kind of set the market. Another intriguing set to come up. 2017 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, a complete red set, is currently on Golden at $4,500. This has 10 days left on it. What's going to be interesting here is how this compares to the prior set. The last one sold in May on Golden for 16.8. So this will kind of give us an idea of how the PMG market of the older stuff is kind of holding up. The one difference is this one has a little bit better grades in it, at least on the Spider-Man as a PSA 8. The Iron Man is a PSA 8. The sale currently running, it's a PSA 7 on the Iron Man and a PSA 7 on the Spider-Man. The Venom's only a PSA 7. This is mostly PSA 7s, I believe. The Miles is only a PSA 6. Cap is a 7. So some pretty lower grades on this one. So it's probably, my guess is it's definitely going to come in under what the previous one did. The interesting thing will be how much under the previous one does this one go for. This will be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. On Spider-Man Metal PMGs, this green Miles Morales in a CGC 9 sold over the weekend and kind of has everyone's heads turning. This went for $11,000 on eBay. I believe this is now confirmed as paid. Last time I looked. But CGC 9, I will have a grading reveal with my Gwen, my Ghost Spider red in it. Which, spoilers, it also got a CGC 9. I've posted it all over social media already, so it's not like it's a big secret. I'm personally not a big fan of this Miles artwork. The greens from this set continue to sell extremely strong, even as the reds come down. A lot of that is obviously due to the rarity and the scarcity of it. Some other notable green sales graded. A PSA 8 Ghost Spider went for $7K. So interesting there. I would argue that Gwen and Miles are pretty close on the popularity scale. Gwen might actually be slightly more popular, in my opinion anyways, but I'm biased on that. So interesting to see the PSA 8 do 7K of that and the CGC 9 do 11,000 on the Miles. So that's definitely pretty interesting. Some notable raw sales. We have a Silk here that went for 3.3. A Black Cat in a PSA 8 went for 8,500. So once again, I'm actually surprised that that went for higher than the Ghost Spider, to be honest. And then some lower end ones, Magneto 2,500. Kind of weird artwork on that one. Other Magneto for 3,200. Spectacular Spider-Man for 3,300. Kraven for 2,700. Here's another Ghost Spider Raw. This one's actually from about a week ago. Went for 7K. So you can see a Raw one for 7K and a PSA 8 went for 7K. Kind of interesting. Usually PSA 7s are kind of treated as raw, but it's a green, it's a one-off comp. So it's a little tricky on the green PMGs because you have so few sales to really kind of establish a market for it. So a raw selling for about the same as a PSA 8 isn't necessarily the end of the world. That original green for 7K was right out of the chute when the set first came out. So it could have just been a little extra exuberance. Let me refresh this really quick just to see if anything else happened. Couple CGC sales for just like more normal cards. These are running at auction right now. I will say CGC, one of the weird things is searching for it on eBay is tricky you have to make sure that you have the non-sports card trading category selected, or you just get a ton of comic books. So that part's a little bit weird. This Hobgoblin is actually mine, running at auction at $22.50. Be curious to see what that goes for. That's a yellow FX. Very curious to see what this 9 Stan Lee goes for in MU. I don't think it goes for a ton. It's a 9. A PSA 9 would go for maybe 15, 20 bucks. It's been a while since I checked. This Magneto, I'd be surprised if it gets any bids at all in an 8. Personal experience, CGC and Spider-Man metal. I have sold through most of my submission. I have a handful of cards left from that, from the metal stuff specifically. I'll dig deeper into that when I do a full ROI wrap-up video on that submission and Spider-Man metal in general. But I've been moving that stuff fairly well for the most part. You know, I haven't really had a ton of trouble moving it. I made a couple different Facebook posts and a couple of IG posts, and the stuff seems to be moving pretty well. The cards look great in hand. The CGC slabs are absolutely fantastic. So it'll be interesting once we start getting some PSA stuff graded and maybe even some SGC, kind of see how those things stack up. In my personal opinion, if you're grading Marvel cards, there's only really 2 choices. It's either PSA or CGC. I personally do not see a need to use anybody else. I don't know why you would send the SGC when you could go CGC and get the label match for comic books and a much better slab and a lot cheaper. You could do the $15 submission with no subgrades. My order anyways ran pretty quick. We'll see how that goes moving forward as they get busier, but I don't know that I see much of a reason to use anyone other than those 2. Moving off Marvel, or staying with Marvel cards for a second, Fleer Ultra Avengers. We've talked about this a bunch on the channel back when it was $3.50 a box. Guess what? It price increased again. It is now $3.99 a box. They pulled this down the day that Spider-Man metal hit e-pack and put it back up at $3.99 later in the evening. Will this be the last price increase? I honestly have no idea. We still don't know when this product is coming out. It says November 30th on here. I do not believe that at all. I would love for it to come out November 30th. I would love to get a second Marvel release this year, but I would be shocked if we do. I also would be shocked if it actually stayed at $400 a box. I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty, but I do think this probably keeps creeping up, especially the longer it gets held back. And we'll see what happens when Spider-Man metal sells out on e-pack. Also on the wax train, Spider-Man metal box prices, blasters and hobby boxes are basically holding. Blasters on the secondary market are staying right at about 50 bucks. Hobby boxes are floating around 600. There's a couple sales a little all over the place, 625, 615. We have a 590, a 600. My gut tells me these stay pretty flat at this level. The second e-pack sells out, they will probably spike back up a little bit. That's typically what you see happen, because people that are still chasing that high, want to rip, etc., don't have the e-pack outlet, and then that ISR on switches over to look back at the physical product again, because that's all that exists for ripping. And remember, only 25% of the only 25% of the print run is physical hobby box. 75% of it went to e-pack. So once that sells out, there's not a lot of physical boxes in the grand scheme of things. So sitting on sealed wax for this product, not the worst play in the world, in my opinion. We'll see how it ages, all that stuff. But I personally don't think this is like a WWE Prism situation where this is going to crash down. I just think there's too much demand for it right now. And I do feel like there's a pretty limited supply of it, especially once e-pack runs out. Kind of switching gears a little bit here. We didn't talk about MTG last week, so I wanted to make sure we squeezed it in a little bit this week. They do have the newest set release, Domino United, out. It's been interesting. I've been watching Alpha Investments breaks over at, Rudy, ripping these boxes left and right, and a couple other channels. They have the Lost Legends in them and whatnot. But box prices are definitely pulling back on these. They are not maintaining, which is intriguing because of the Lost Legends aspect of it. I almost bought a case of collector's boxes of this. I came damn close. And what ended up swinging me was instead of buying a case of that for $2,000, I doubled down and bought another half case of Fleer Ultra Avengers. I had 6 boxes pre-ordered at $300. When Domino United, I had an opportunity to buy a case of collectors for a little over $2K, or a little under 2K, like 1,500, because there's less boxes in that case. I decided to just take that money and go buy another 6 boxes of Fleer Ultra Avengers at 350. It cost me a little bit more, but I felt better about that. One, I already had 6 boxes. That gives me a bunch to open on the channel. And then if I bought a second set of 6 boxes, those 6 I could potentially just sit on. So I ended up going that route instead of getting a case of this. I'm intrigued about possibly getting a case of set boxes if they come down. Basically, how I'm reading this is that you either want set or collector's boxes. You don't want draft boxes, as there is no list card in the draft boxes, and there is no Lost Legends in the draft boxes. In the set booster boxes, you have the list card slot to kind of give it a little extra juice. And on the collector's boxes, you have all the fancy smash stuff. But in addition to that, you have the Lost Legends cards as an extra chase as well. It looks like this stuff's going to keep backsliding, so there might be an opportunity to kind of sink in. You can kind of see the little graph on TCG Player here. These aren't quite in Market Movers yet. Market Movers does have MTG wax. These just have not made it in yet. But set boxes are down to 120. Booster boxes are down to 100 and falling. And then collector boxes are down to 215. And you can see kind of went right off a cliff here. I'm going to keep my eye on both set and collector's boxes. I don't know what the magic number is for me to swoop in, but I may sneak in and grab a case of these. I'm also looking at potentially a case of Kamigawa set boxes for around 700. That's on my radar as well. So I'm kind of debating, if I pick up another case of Magic cards to sit on, which path I want to go down. But that's kind of like, in regards to the latest release, that's kind of what that's doing. Double Masters is still holding up pretty well as the big release prior to this. But this is the first set that's had a price increase on the MSRP side of things, and it looks like it is affecting the secondary market a little bit. One quick comic book thing that I want to touch on. This is ASM 101, first appearance of Morbius. Anyone that follows this stuff knows that the movie sucked. I just kind of wanted to talk about how the movie can really affect the market on this. This is a 7.0 CGC, and I picked this because it was one of the ones that sells the most. It's just one of those grades. It's a pretty decent grade-wise, but also just has a lot of transactions. And I'm wondering if the hate almost went too far on this. You could see the big spike up for the movie. This book topped out at around $1,100 average price. It's now down to about $600 to $700, which puts it all the way back almost to 2020 prices. This is this book back in late 2018 at around this same price range, and then it got a little bit of a bump with the comic boom in the spring, plus the movie all kind of timed at the same side. This is a very interesting one. It's a Silver Age Spider-Man key. I think it has good long-term run, even with the hate of the movie on it. And I almost wonder if the hate's gone too far. Whether you want to go buy an ASM 101, that's up to you. My point here is that watch out for buying opportunities after stuff like this happens. When you look at these graphs and you see the price reset all the way back to where it was well before the run-up to stuff, and in this case, before the run-up of the comic boom, to me, any book like that is something I'm at least remotely interested in is going to go on my radar. But this is just one that I feel like the hate has gone a little too far on for what is arguably, still a very important Spider-Man key, regardless of what you think about Morbius. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, still trying to figure out the format on this a little bit. I know it's a little all over the place because we talk about Marvel cards, Magic, comic books. Every once in a while, we're going to throw in some pop culture stuff. So that's all I have for you for this week. Once again, like I said, hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, give it a share if you did. And we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.